Hi, I'm Carla Hartman, and welcome back to this week's episode of Modern Tech and Transformation. I do not have my usual co-host with me, Michael Brown, but I have someone who's had a remarkable career with me, CEO of Resolve Tech Solutions, Vinod Muthuswamy. So Vinod, thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, Carla, for having me at the podcast. I have over 20 years of experience in this industry. I'm an engineer from background. I built software during my days in college. And then over the past 20 years, I've worked at different enterprises, scaling their business from launching new services, bringing new technology, and enabling enterprises through their journey of digital transformation. That's been, in a nutshell, what I've been doing.
All right. Well, very excited to have you today as we are well into January of 2024. Vinod, what are the major technology trends that you think will shape this year?
2024 is a very interesting year, and the reason why I say it's very interesting is there are a few inflection points in the industry, in the technology industry that we are at. One is the massive adoption of cloud. Cloud has been adopted across the enterprise, and you'll continue to see that growth over the next, 3 to 5 years, right? More and more enterprises will continue to adopt cloud, which will also drive the growth of data within the cloud itself. So the first trend is sort of this ubiquitous, use of cloud across mid to large enterprises will continue to happen. You'll see the growth of cloud at a double digit, 16 to 20% year over year. The cloud market is expected to be around 600 to 700 billion in the next 3 years. So that's a great trend that we all are excited about. What happened in the past decade was, clouds got built and public clouds got more mature. And you had a lot of customers moving their infrastructure and applications from the data centers into the cloud. But this also created this opportunity for enterprises to what I call as generate infinite amounts of data. Because in the cloud, you don't have any limitations. Mm-hmm. And as data got generated, customers kept talking about what are we going to do with this data. And in 2023, we saw the massive explosion of ChatGPT. And everyone from my mother-in-law to my grandma knows about AI, right? And they know how to go into OpenAI and use AI. Well, AI has been there for more than 3 decades, mm-hmm. right? It's not that ChatGPT just happened overnight, but what ChatGPT did was it democratized and consumerized AI, which now created the awareness of the art of possible with AI. So you will see AI adoption, and every enterprise, every CIO, every CEO have a charter and a mandate to implement AI and embed AI as part of their business process, enabling the acceleration of results and outcomes that they expect across the business enterprise. So cloud being one, AI being the second. I mean, you have these two things where you're moving infrastructure from one place to the other, you're changing parameters, you're using data, and you don't know how that data is going to generate output a little bit. Security becomes a concern. So cybersecurity is going to be that constant that has to evolve as these trends continue to shape up, right? You look at the journey of how we have evolved from the Industrial Revolution, where we started manufacturing cars and we started using technologies to automate the manufacturing process. Lean manufacturing came into play, where we optimized manufacturing, and then the internet was built in the 1970s, and then computers started entering into each and every business. We started connecting those computers to generate the data. And in the early 2000s, we started optimizing applications and how applications could truly transform business. We'll continue to see a multi-decade transformation with the combination of AI and cloud, through 2024 and all the way going through 2035, right? So this is a fantastic time that we are in. We're just starting the journey. It's not even started, right? And it's really exciting because it's going to create a massive amounts of opportunities, both in the technology space and in the business space as well. So users will see the difference in how their work changes, how their, to some extent, their day-to-day lives change with the use of AI. I mean, today you see the use of Alexa right?
Yep.
How many of you have learned that, like Alexa is another member of the family now, right?
She is.
Yeah, so AI is getting into every aspect of human life, and it's going to cross every vertical. There's not a single vertical that's going to be left behind. So that's exciting, right?
Yeah.
So 2024 is clearly an exciting year, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And I know you mentioned 3 decades with AI. I did some research. Actually, the first mention of it, 1970s.
Yes.
So that was even before most of the computers were used to.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
Alexa, she is an AI assistant. We have many of them. Even my 2-year-old uses her. He says, "Hey Alexa, play Baby Shark."
Yes.
And
yes.
she does.
Yeah.
So that's fun. Baby Shark is on repeat.
Yes.
So there'll definitely be a lot of changes that not only affect us personally. I know in marketing, huge productivity gains with AI, and then in business, we're going to slowly start seeing those as they're in business processes.
Yeah, and businesses have to reimagine themselves, right? Business have to leverage technology to outcompete, their competitors in the marketplace. When you think about, I saw the news yesterday, and I looked at Elon Musk making a statement about Tesla being an AI and robotics company, and that's true. The technology leveraged within Tesla vehicles and the amount of data they process from a computer vision perspective and the intelligent decisions that they make, they are a different car company. You cannot treat them as another car company that's just manufacturing cars, right? They're more of a technology company that has leveraged and has sort of pushed the boundary of technology in today's business. That's what we envision each and every enterprise to get to, and that's where RTS comes into play, right? Our vision is to enable enterprises to leverage digital and AI technologies to truly transform into a digital enterprise. And for our, the state of nirvana is where any business looks at technology as the foundation and that as their differentiator in the marketplace, right? Whether it's a retail store or whether it's a healthcare company, we want technology to be the foundation of what they are leveraging to transform that business, and we want to be the enabler of that.
Do you think there's any organizations or verticals that are too far behind to catch up in this digital transformation journey?
Every vertical is at a different level when it comes to the maturity. A lot of it, has different aspects to it. It's not just whether the leaders within that company are driving the change. There's also, in certain cases, regulations, restrictions that are applied. For example, when you look at banking and financial, or just capital markets, they have adopted AI early on in algorithmic trading, right?
Yeah.
So they have already been through that journey a little bit, and they put it into action. When you look at e-commerce, look at Amazon.com or any other platforms like Shopify. A lot of them provide services where they leverage AI/ML models to predict how users are coming onto their website, how they can engage with those users. There's a lot of movement of data coming from different, what you call channels. Like, they share data with Google, they share data with other, platforms, and they collectively leverage that data to make sense and understand who their customer base is. Then you go into things like utilities, right? Utilities have, far more restrictions because, utilities cannot be as cutting edge and open because there's a huge aspect of security risk associated with how you make those decisions. So they want the technology to take a certain amount of time to go through that initial curve of learning, and then they are ready to start looking at. So you'll start seeing them adopt more and more. We are at that phase where every industry is going to try to accelerate to get to leveraging these technologies in this similar use cases, even in healthcare. Healthcare, due to regulations, it's very hard to exchange data.
Yeah.
From when you're looking at the value chain of delivering services, and how you could potentially impact the entire value chain to impact the life of a potential user and a patient. So you can predict ahead of time when that person could have a specific condition and take the preliminary steps to prevent it. It's an act of God to get that data together, right? So it's not easy. So a lot of it is not so much about the restriction from a technology perspective, it's also the restrictions that come from a vertical industry perspective itself. And then, in a lot of other areas, for example, now, gaming industry is continuing to leverage a lot of AI and leverage, they've always used AI in games, but also look at, based on who the user is, dynamically present ads in the game.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you've created the game and you're just presenting ads, but if you've seen games out there, you've seen how the games would have streets in it and there would be banners. Some of those ads are actually paid for.
Okay.
Right?
I'm not a big gamer,
yeah,
so
but now they have the ability to auto-generate those ads dynamically based on who the user is. Right? So it's going to change the way, even in industries that have leveraged AI and other cutting-edge technologies, it will be a game changer for a lot of those industries. I do see every enterprise taking this step to become an intelligent enterprise, which is now historically, 20 years ago, everything was about creating data. Data was they said data was the next oil, right? And that's true. But really, people didn't really understand what that meant in terms of monetizing data. AI is going to truly enable monetizing that data because AI is truly about generating outcomes out of that data.
Salesforce, one of their recent commercials, talks about your data is your gold.
Yes.
So, yeah, data is definitely, they're just changing currencies, but data is still a very hot commodity.
Data is still a very hot commodity. And data has influenced, global shifts, right? And when I say data has influenced global shifts, it's technology has influenced global shifts. And that's only possible because everything eventually translates into data, whether it's the number of users connected to a platform and what they're doing and the decisions that are made. All these are possible because we're leveraging AI to make decisions in the background in an autonomous fashion. AI is going to drive scalability, right?
Yes.
Historically, where you thought, humans or people were put to solve the problem, and every time people cannot solve the problem because you cannot solve certain physical problems just by putting people to the equation. AI is going to help with that, right? I do see, our general workforce, moving higher up the value chain, where AI can take a lot of the mundane activities and automate those business processes, and you'll see a shift in how humans are engaged in the loop with working closely in the loop with AI to drive decisions across the business. So you're fast tracking, you're kind of giving them their superpowers.
Yeah.
You're making individual roles, you're sort of bolstering their power with AI, and that's what's going to happen over the next 5 years. A customer service agent becomes a superpower customer service agent.
Yeah.
A field technician now has the superpower agent next to him, right? A healthcare company now becomes a better predictor of risk associated with patients. So that's where I see the adoption of AI helping humanity in general, right? And it's going to progress us into the future.
Proactivity versus reactivity.
Yes, exactly.
I definitely see that happening. So we talked about data being oil or gold, and me and Michael have spoke about this in the past, but I'm interested to get your perspective. Gartner said only 4% of organizations have AI-ready data. Does that shock you? Yes or no? And can you elaborate on that?
It does not shock me at all, and I think 4% is probably a high number.
Okay.
I think it's much lower than that. Here's why. As enterprises have adopted technology and implemented applications, generated data, and as much as enterprises have defined policies to make sure that data is available across the entire enterprise, data silos exist everywhere. There is no way out of it right now that those are already built, they exist today. We have a problem at hand which we need to solve. What we tend to see typically when we talk to enterprises about truly what is your journey towards becoming an intelligent digital enterprise, and setting the vision. The first phase of that execution, and it takes most of the time initially, is getting the data ready. And getting the data ready meaning, is it the right type of data that enables you to make the right decisions for the business outcomes that you're expecting? Is it available enough in volume to enable the learning process to make those decisions, right? Then two, how do you avoid, as you're training, whether it's, a model that's available off the shelf or something that you've customized, to ensure that you're not creating things that didn't exist, what we call as hallucination, right? Where, especially in unstructured data and large language models, this is the known issue that has occurred. A manufacturing company used their existing user guides and tech briefs and trained all the models with those, and when a customer came and asked, what is this, the model generated a brand new product that never existed, was never manufactured by the manufacturer, right? So these problems exist. So it's not just about, is the data available, but is it the right type of data? Do you have enough volume of data to make the right decisions, to train the models? And then how do you put those, how do you put those barriers in the decision-making process? And then lastly, how do you ensure data privacy?
Yeah,
right?
that's a big
and
one.
Big one, right? How do you ensure that, as an enterprise, if you do have, define your privacy policies, how does it truly apply on a day-to-day basis for the movement of data, whether it's at rest or, into these? Because once you train the models and once it is learned, the outputs that come out of it are no longer dependent on the data, right?
Yeah.
So those are some of the things to think about. The other thing is also looking at ensuring that, data models and AI doesn't get used to unconscious bias, where over a period of time, as you're predicting based on a certain data sets, there is no bias towards a certain type of gender, race, whatever it may be, especially in industries, that, for example, insurance agencies, or who are, predicting who they need to, serve and provide, what should be the risk associated with specific individuals that they are putting a policy against, or loan generation, loan origination, right? How do you ensure that there is no bias towards the individual, that the parameters that are being used to predict the risk associated with the specific loan generation does not have any bias, right? So those are the things, you have to keep in mind as you go through. So when you say AI-ready data, it's a broad,
absolutely.
It's a very broad spectrum, and depending upon industry, there could be industrial nuances that apply, that could apply specifically for, utilities, that could apply specifically for banking and financial, healthcare, hospitality. Those things also have to be taken into consideration. So this doesn't really surprise me. I do believe that the next few years, you'll see a lot of data modernization projects.
I agree.
Across enterprises, as a first step towards getting ready for AI. There will be a lot of testing and ideation going on dummy data or test data, where enterprises will say, oh yeah, this is possible with this for my environment. For example, in service providers, we're doing a test use case for intelligent field operations. So we'll see, them go through the process of ideation and the proof of concept early on. But even before you implement that solution in production, there'll be a long tail project of data readiness that comes into play. I hope to see that in the next 2-3 years, that percentage starts, growing, which means that, we are on the right path of adoption, right, with enterprises.
I'll be interested to see what Gartner comes out with around this time next year on their data, AI-ready data. I thought 4% was low, but after hearing you explain it, I'm like, maybe that's actually high.
High,
So
yeah.
interesting, different takes. So we've talked a little bit about process and technology, but we need people, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can we enable our workforce to be successful in an AI era?
It's a great question, and I always think about this in two aspects. AI is not just sitting in the background and doing something that only the tech talent need to worry about. AI is going to touch every individual that's consuming technology on a day-to-day basis, right? And so there's two aspects to look at it, and in both places, there's different approaches that you have to do. AI is clearly going to create a cultural shift and change in how we work on a day-to-day basis. It is going to drive more productivity into the enterprise. Um, Today, the way Copilot is being used, right?
Yeah.
Think of it, right? Historically, if you wanted to draft something in email or you wanted to put together a schedule, it would take you like 30 minutes to 40 minutes to think through a lot of this. Now you get a foundational, structure already ready that you can tweak and adapt it to yourself. So you've saved, close to 40 minutes out of that, and now you're getting the same thing done in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and you have more like brain cognitive decision making that's left. You're not
you're not burning out,
power.
Right? Right. So it is making us much more smarter in this process, right? It's making us much more efficient, in the process. So what do we do with that time, right? That's where you'll continue to see, more growth and scalability, brought into as enterprises grow with the use of technology. There's upskilling that needs to happen, right? Upskilling both on the business end where consumers are using technology, and I'll come to the tech part of it as well. Tech is an easy thing to talk about, but there will be shifts in roles on the business, where there will be a lot of AI augmented roles where your traditional customer service agent is now, as I told you, has a customer service agent with superpowers. So people who can adapt to that and work with an agent and an AI agent and truly are the ones that will be successful going forward, right? The interaction with the AI agent and how do you now deliver a better experience to the customer as part of the process. Again, there will be training and all those things that will enable the workforce to leverage that technology as part of the day-to-day activity. And that is going to, start happening over the next 3 to 5 years. You'll start seeing as more solutions are rolled out, the training needs to come with it, and the shift in the roles as well. When it comes to tech talent, there is a big gap in the industry, and that gap occurs every time there's a market shift. When there is technology shift from, and when there's a major technology shift, right? And we are in that phase. Over the past 10 years, I don't think there was such a revolutionizing technology shift that we got so excited about. We talked about, the early 2000s was the growth of the data centers, and it was not as exciting, right?
No.
Then cloud came at the end of around 2010. AWS started becoming sort of the go-to for cloud, and it started adoption across both mid and large enterprise. So we've seen some excitement around it, but it was a lot of shifting old technology to new technology. We're now in the phase of where we have the ability to scale, the ability to connect and push massive amounts of data across the internet is there. Our mobile infrastructure has grown where we can push compute to the edge.
Yeah.
Right. So think that we've been building the blocks over the years and decades to get here, and now say that truly, can I build this AI-ready infrastructure, right? And I always think about the Terminator, right? When I think about it, it's bringing all those things together, and now you're building this, this engine, and you can do it in a structured manner, where you can now take the data and you can make intelligent decisions out of it. So what does that mean in terms of people, right? It means that the one thing that AI brings to the table is it has to be designed and deployed with the context of the industry applied to it. So people that are embedded in the technology aspect of different industries will have a great opportunity to upskill themselves and continue through the next 2 decades, right? Whether it's roles of data engineers, anyone who has in the past, in a decade, worked on databases, understood how to move data from one, and they have a great opportunity to now leverage their knowledge. One of the things that they have is they understand the industry.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when you're training models and you want them to make decisions, it's important to to have that industry experience. New roles are going to be generated. The first evolution of AI was, everyone kept talking about data scientists, and yeah, data scientist roles do exist, but those data scientist roles predominantly are existing in the sector of companies that are actually building the platforms, right? Googles of the world, AWS of the world, and other companies, C3 AI. These companies are in the federal and defense Palantir. They're building the foundational technology that could be consumed by the broader set of audiences. Now, who's going to bring that technology to the enterprise? There's a gap between where the enterprise's maturity is to where the technology platforms exist today, and that gap has to be bridged by and new sets of skill sets, right? Whether it's upskilled or brand new skill sets that are learned. 3 years ago, if I told you, Carla, can you find a job requisition or for a prompt engineer? You'll say, what?
I'd be like, someone that's fast?
Yeah.
Someone that's on time?
So prompt, right? But prompt engineer today is an actual role. It's a high-paying role, right? That's used to train these. So this is what's happening. The platforms are built, and now you have roles that are going to enable the consumption of those platforms and across a broader set of enterprise. That's what has led the evolution of Juno Labs, right?
Yes.
We envision customers wanting to ideate and wanting to consume this technology, and we want to enable our customers through this journey. And part of enabling the customers through the journey is also educating them and making them aware of what is possible. That's where Juno Innovate comes into play. Is through ideation, we believe that customers will learn more about it because a lot of them have the foundation, the knowledge of technology. A lot of them have built software over the years. Now it's all about plugging all these pieces together, and it's going to be fun. I'll tell you that, right? It's going to be it's so much. When you think about the possibilities of leveraging AI, it's going to be an exciting phase, in the technology industry, and I'm super excited about the next decade and the growth opportunity. AI alone, and just generative AI alone, can have a 4.4 to 5 trillion in global economic impact.
Wow.
And that's just mind-blowing, right? That's just mind-blowing in terms of every industry vertical, every opportunity that it presents to, right? When OpenAI launched its website, I think it was less than 60 days. There were 100 million users signed in. That wouldn't have been possible 20 years ago.
No, we didn't have the infrastructure.
We wouldn't have the infrastructure, right? So we are in the right time.
Yes.
All the pieces, the Lego blocks are there. Now it's about, how do we put it together, right?
Very
so
cool.
that's very exciting.
Very cool. No, so AI, cloud, trends of 2024. You might have heard it elsewhere, but you've also heard it here from one of the experts in the field, Vinod Muthuswamy. So Vinod, thank you for being with us today, and we hope to see you soon on an upcoming podcast.
Thank you very much, Carla.